The kid behind the counter at Willow Creek Photo Lab looked like he'd seen a ghost. Tom Ricks, 26, acne scars still fighting for real estate on his jaw, held the manila envelope like it might explode. His hands shook. Not the nervous shake of someone who spilled coffee on their shirt. The kind of shake you get when you've seen something you can't unsee. "Mr. Ansel," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "I need to tell you something." I'd been coming to this place for years. Emily loved their work. Old-school development. The kind where actual human hands touched actual film. She'd trusted them with our memories. Now she was gone 6 months, and I'd finally found the courage to dig through her camera bag. One roll. Fujifilm 400. Probably from her last few weeks. I expected garden photos. Maybe the grandkids. Emily had a thing for catching moments nobody else noticed. The way morning light hit the kitchen table, or how the oak tree in our backyard looked in autumn. "Just the photos, Tom," I said. He didn't hand them over. "Mr. Ansel." He leaned forward, close enough I could smell his energy drink breath. "Don't show these to anyone else, okay? Just look at them yourself first." My stomach did something uncomfortable. "What's on there?" "I can't." He glanced at the back room where his manager was probably drinking bad coffee. "I can't say, but you'll understand when you see them. And sir, I'm sorry, about your wife, and about whatever this is." He pushed the envelope across the counter like it was contaminated. I took it, paid, left, didn't open it until I got home. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. Ansel Storage and Logistics had made me wealthy enough to afford a house that felt too big after Emily passed. 5 bedrooms in a gated community outside Portland. Pool I never used. 3-car garage for 2 vehicles. The kind of place that looked impressive in real estate photos, but felt hollow when you walked through it alone. I sat at the kitchen table. Same table Emily photographed 100 times. The envelope sat in front of me. Tom's face kept replaying in my head. That look, like he'd accidentally witnessed a crime. I opened it. 36 exposures. 36 windows into the last month of my wife's life. The first 10 were normal. Emily in the garden, her hands dirty, smiling at something off camera. Probably me. The azaleas had bloomed early that year. She'd been so proud. Then the grandkids. Little Sophie, 8 years old, gap-toothed and glowing. Mason, 6, holding a toy truck. Normal, all normal. Photo 15 made me pause. Our living room. Emily must have set the camera on the bookshelf, timer running. She liked doing that. Candid shots where nobody knew they were being photographed. Michael and Ashley sat on the couch. My kids, 34 and 31. Both dressed business casual, which was strange because this looked like a Sunday afternoon. Between them sat a man I didn't recognize, 50s maybe, expensive suit, silver hair, on the coffee table, barely visible but definitely there, business cards. I squinted, zoomed in with my reading glasses, Reynolds Law Group, Estate Planning and Trust Administration. My heart rate picked up. I flipped to the next photo. Same scene, different angle. Michael was leaning forward now, pointing at something on a tablet. The lawyer, Reynolds, I assumed, had his hands folded, listening. Ashley's expression was focused, intent. They looked like they were planning something. No, they were planning something. I thought back. When was this? Emily had taken these photos maybe 3 weeks before the pneumonia hit, before the hospital, before everything went to pieces. Why would my kids be meeting with an estate lawyer? I was 58, not 80. Ansel Storage and Logistics was doing better than ever. 15 warehouse locations across Oregon, Washington, and Northern California. Annual revenue pushing $20 million. I'd built it from nothing. One rented space in a strip mall 30 years ago, betting everything on the idea that businesses needed flexible storage solutions. I'd won that bet. Michael worked for the company, VP of Operations. Ashley had left years ago to pursue her own path, which mostly meant spending her husband's money and occasionally consulting on family business decisions. But meeting with an estate lawyer? Without telling me? I kept flipping. Photo 18, hospital room. Emily's hospital room. She was in the bed, pale, IV line in her arm. This must have been week 2, when the pneumonia wasn't responding to antibiotics, when the doctors started using words like complications and monitoring closely. I'd been there every day, slept in that horrible chair that felt like it was designed by someone who hated the human spine. But this photo, I wasn't in it. Michael and Ashley stood on the left side of the bed. Neither was holding Emily's hand. Neither was looking at her. They were looking at the same lawyer from the living room photos. He stood at the foot of the bed holding a folder. Emily must have had the camera on the windowsill. Maybe she'd asked a nurse to take photos for the family album, then forgot to hand it over. The angle was low, unintentional, but it captured everything. I zoomed in on the folder, blurry but readable. Power of attorney. My hands started shaking, just like Tom's. The next photo was worse. Same scene, moments later. The lawyer had opened the folder. Papers were visible. Michael was signing something. Ashley was watching. Emily's eyes were closed in the photo. Sleeping, sedated, unaware. I flipped through the rest faster now. Most were normal. More garden shots, a few of the neighbor's dog, one random photo of the parking lot outside Emily's favorite grocery store. Then the last image, photo 36, the bathroom mirror at home. Emily must have been testing the camera, making sure it still worked. She stood in the reflection, camera raised. And behind her, through the open bathroom door, visible in the bedroom mirror's reflection, Michael, Ashley, and Reynolds. Sitting at our dining room table, papers spread out, a folder with a label I could just barely read, even with my glasses. Ansel Holdings, Trust Restructure. Emily's face in the photo, she wasn't smiling. She was staring at the camera with an expression I'd never seen before. Not sadness, not confusion, fear. She'd known, she'd seen them, heard them maybe. And instead of confronting them, instead of telling me, she documented it. Because she knew I wouldn't believe her without proof. I sat at that table for 2 hours, staring at the photos. My children, my kin. They were plotting something behind my back while their mother lay sedated in a hospital bed. The sarcastic part of my brain, the part that had gotten me through 30 years of business negotiations and competitor backstabbing, finally kicked in. "Well," I said out loud to the empty kitchen, "isn't this a lovely family portrait?" I thought I wanted memories. I had no idea I was buying the truth. I didn't sleep that night. Kept the photos spread across the kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene. Because that's what they were, wasn't it? Evidence. The question was, evidence of what, exactly? At 3 a.m, I made coffee and started thinking like a businessman instead of a father. Fact 1. My kids met with an estate lawyer multiple times without telling me. Fact 2. They discussed power of attorney while Emily was hospitalized. Fact 3. They had documents labeled Trust Restructure. Fact 4. Emily knew. She was scared enough to photograph it. I picked up my phone, put it down, picked it up again, called Michael. He answered on the 4th ring, voice thick with sleep. "Dad, it's 3 a.m. I found some photos," I said. "From your mother's camera." Silence. The kind of silence that lasts a half-second too long. "That's great," he finally said. "I've been meaning to go through her things. We should look at them together. Maybe this weekend?" "There's one of you and Ashley," I continued, keeping my voice casual. "In our living room, with a lawyer. Reynolds, I think his card said." Another pause. Shorter this time. But there. "Oh, right. Yeah, we were just getting some advice. Estate planning stuff. Making sure everything's organized. For the future. What future? Dad, come on. You're not getting any younger, none of us are. It's responsible to have these conversations. Without me? We didn't want to bother you while Mom was sick. You had enough on your plate. The lie came smooth as glass. Too smooth. Michael had always been good at this, making the unreasonable sound perfectly reasonable. And the hospital photos? I asked. This time the silence stretched. What hospital photos? The ones where you and Ashley are signing documents while your mother sleeps. With the same lawyer. Dad, I don't know what you think you saw, but don't. My voice came out harder than I intended. Don't treat me like I'm senile. I built a $20 million company from nothing. My eyes work fine. Nobody said you were senile. His tone shifted, still smooth, but with an edge now. Look, this is obviously upsetting you. Why don't we meet for lunch tomorrow? We can talk about this properly. Who's we? What? You said we can talk. Who's we? You and me? Or you, me, and your lawyer? You're being paranoid. Am I? He sighed, the kind of sigh that said he was done pretending to be patient. I have to be up in 3 hours for a meeting. Can we please discuss this like adults at a reasonable time? I hung up, stared at the photos again. Michael had lied. Smoothly, professionally, but he'd lied, which meant whatever they were planning, it was bad enough to lie about. I needed more than photos. I needed to know what those documents actually said. At 8 a.m. I called my accountant. Harold Burns had been handling my books since the company was small enough to fit in a storage unit. 60 years old, obsessively organized, the kind of guy who color-coded his file folders and alphabetized his spice rack. If there was financial paperwork floating around with my name on it, Harold would know. Robert, he said when he picked up, quarterly review isn't until next month. This isn't about quarterly review. I need you to check something for me, quietly. Quietly? Have you seen any legal documents cross your desk? Anything about trust restructuring or ownership transfer? Silence. Harold? Why are you asking? My stomach dropped. Because you have seen something. Robert, He stopped. Started again. I received a request for documentation 3 weeks ago. From Reynolds Law Group. They were preparing preliminary paperwork for a trust modification. I assumed you'd authorized it. What kind of modification? Transfer of primary ownership control. It would shift decision-making authority for Ansel Holdings to Michael and Ashley, with you retaining symbolic ownership but no operational control. And you just sent them the documents? They were preliminary requests, information gathering. None of it was finalized. You would have had to sign off on everything. I figured you knew. I closed my eyes. What would they need to finalize it? Either your signature or... He hesitated. Or what, Harold? Or a legal declaration that you're unable to manage your own affairs. Medical incapacitation, cognitive decline, that sort of thing. There it was. They weren't planning to ask permission. They were building a case to take it. Harold, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Pull every document related to this request. Make copies. Bring them to my house tonight. Robert, if they find out They won't. And Harold, don't tell anyone we had this conversation. Not even, especially not Michael. I hung up before he could argue. Sat there in my kitchen, surrounded by photos of my wife's last days, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Something worse. Clarity. My kids weren't just greedy, they were methodical. They'd waited until Emily was too sick to interfere. They'd used her hospitalization as cover to build their case. And they would have succeeded, if Emily hadn't left me this evidence. I picked up the photo of her in the bathroom mirror, the one where she stared at the camera with that expression of fear. I see it now. I said quietly. I see exactly what you were trying to tell me. The sarcastic voice in my head, the one that had been quiet all morning, finally spoke up. They planned a world without you. I looked at the photos one more time, memorized every detail. Then I gathered them up, put them back in the envelope, and locked them in the safe in my study. Time to return the favor. Harold Burns arrived at 7 p.m. carrying a leather briefcase that looked like it weighed 20 pounds. He sat at my kitchen table, same table where I'd spread Emily's photos 12 hours earlier, and pulled out a stack of documents thick enough to qualify as a manuscript. "This is everything I could find," he said. His hands were shaking slightly. Harold didn't like breaking rules, even when the rules were being used against his client. "I made copies. If anyone audits the files, they'll see I accessed them, but they won't know I printed them." I poured him a scotch. He didn't drink usually, but tonight he downed it in 2 gulps. "Walk me through it," I said. He opened the first folder. 3 weeks ago, Reynolds Law Group sent a formal inquiry requesting documentation of your medical history, cognitive assessments, and any existing power of attorney arrangements. They claimed they were conducting due diligence for estate planning at your request. "Which I never made." "Which you never made," he confirmed. "I sent them basic financial documentation, standard stuff, nothing sensitive, but I also received this." He slid a paper across the table. Letterhead, Portland Medical Associates, my doctor's office. It was a request for my complete medical records, signed by Michael Ansel, next of kin. "They pulled your medical files?" "Tried to. Dr. Morrison's office called me to verify the request. I told them to hold off until I spoke with you. They're still waiting for authorization." Smart. Michael couldn't declare me medically unfit without actual medical evidence, so he'd gone fishing for it. "What else?" Harold pulled out another document. "This is the proposed trust restructure. It's not finalized, but the framework is there." I read through it. Legal language, dense as concrete, but the message was clear. Robert Ansel would retain nominal ownership of Ansel Holdings, but operational authority, hiring, firing, financial decisions, contracts, everything that actually mattered, would transfer to Michael and Ashley immediately upon execution. The justification listed: advancing age and need for transition planning. I was 58. What would they need to make this legally binding? "Your signature," Harold said, "or a court order declaring you incapacitated. The latter would require medical testimony, psychiatric evaluation, possibly a hearing." "How long would that take?" "Months. Maybe a year. Depends on how hard you fight it." I flipped to the last page, saw the signature lines. 3 spaces, one for me, one for Michael, one for Ashley. Michael and Ashley had already signed. They'd just been waiting for me to either sign willingly or be declared unfit. "There's one more thing," Harold said quietly. He pulled out a final document. Thinner than the others. It was an email chain between Michael and someone named Liam Cole, Ashley's husband. I scanned the messages. "Liam, Dad's annual physical is next month. We need to be ready." Michael, "Reynolds says the timeline's tight. If we move now, we can have preliminary approval before year end." Liam, "And if he resists?" Michael, "He won't. He's too proud to fight his own kids in court. Worst case, we weather some bad PR and take control anyway. He's not thinking clearly since Mom passed. Everyone will understand." The email was dated 2 weeks ago. I read it 3 times. Harold watched me. "What do you want to do?" "Good question. The smart move, the legal move, would be to hire my own lawyers, fight this in court, tie it up in litigation until they gave up or I passed away naturally. But that would take months, maybe years, and it would be public. Messy. The business would suffer. Clients would wonder if Ansel Holdings was stable. Competitors would circle like sharks. No. If they wanted to do this quietly, using legal loopholes and medical pretexts, Then I'd return the favor, just differently. I need someone who can investigate, I said. Privately. No lawyers, no official channels. Someone who can find out exactly what they've been planning, who else is involved, and what evidence exists beyond these documents. Harold frowned. You're talking about a private investigator. You know anyone good? He hesitated. There's a guy I used once. Insurance fraud case. Former claims adjuster. Went independent. Very thorough, very discreet. Name? Victor Dane. Works out of a one-room office in Northwest Portland. But Robert, he leaned forward, if you're thinking about fighting this outside the legal system, you need to be careful. They're your kids. Are they? The question hung in the air. Harold didn't have an answer for that. I took Victor Dane's contact information and showed Harold out. Thanked him for the documents. Told him to act normal, keep processing routine paperwork, don't give Michael any reason to suspect. Then I went back inside, poured myself a scotch I actually intended to drink, and sat in the study with Emily's photos and Harold's documents spread in front of me. The kids I'd raised didn't exist anymore. Or maybe they'd never existed. Maybe I'd been too busy building the company to notice what they were becoming. Entitled, impatient, hollow. Michael had always been ambitious. But when had ambition turned into greed? Ashley had always been independent. But when had independence turned into cold calculation? And Liam, I barely knew Liam. He'd married Ashley 4 years ago at a wedding that cost more than most people's houses. Quiet guy, financial analyst. I'd assumed he was harmless. Apparently, I'd assumed wrong. I picked up Emily's last photo, the bathroom mirror, her face staring at the camera with that expression of fear. She'd tried to warn me, and I'd been too grief-stricken to see it until now. I'm sorry, I whispered to her image. I should have noticed sooner. But I noticed now, and I had time. They thought I was old, slow, too emotional after Emily's passing to think clearly. They were about to learn otherwise. I called Victor Dane first thing in the morning. Victor Dane's office was on the 3rd floor of a building that looked like it had been nice in 1987 and hadn't updated since. No elevator. Stairs that smelled like old carpet and resignation. His door had a frosted glass window with vinyl lettering, Dane Investigations, by appointment only. I knocked. It's open, came a voice from inside. The office was exactly what I expected. 1 desk, 2 chairs, file cabinets along the wall, a coffee maker that looked like it had survived a war, 1 window overlooking a parking lot. Victor Dane sat behind the desk, mid-40s, wearing a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He had the look of someone who'd seen enough nonsense that very little surprised him anymore. Robert Ansel, I said, extending a hand. He shook it, firm grip. Harold said you'd be calling. Sit. I sat. He poured 2 cups of coffee without asking if I wanted any, slid one across the desk. Harold doesn't usually refer people to me, Victor said. Which means whatever you need isn't the kind of thing you want in official records. That's correct. Tell me what we're dealing with. I pulled out the envelope with Emily's photos and Harold's documents, slid them across the desk. Victor spent 20 minutes reviewing everything, didn't ask questions, didn't interrupt, just read, studied the photos, made notes on a yellow legal pad. Finally, he looked up. Your kids are trying to take your company. Yes. Using legal means that require either your cooperation or a declaration of incompetence. Yes. And you want to know what else they've planned, who's helping them, and how to stop it. I want to know everything, I said. Every conversation, every document, every person involved. I want to know what they're planning before they plan it. Victor leaned back in his chair. That's surveillance, documentation, electronic records if I can access them legally. I don't hack, I don't break and enter. I don't do anything that gets you or me arrested. Clear? Clear. This will take time. Couple weeks, maybe a month, and it won't be cheap. I don't care about cheap. I care about thorough. He nodded. What's your end goal here? You want to fight them in court? Public exposure? Reconciliation? I met his eyes. I want to win. Win how? However necessary. Victor studied me for a long moment. Then he picked up the photo of Emily in the bathroom mirror, the one where she looked scared. Your wife knew, he said quietly. Yes. And she tried to warn you. Yes. He set the photo down carefully. Okay, I'll take the case. But I need to be clear about something, Mr. Ansel. If I find evidence that your kids are planning something criminal, fraud, elder abuse, anything that crosses that line, I'm obligated to report it. I don't care if they're family. If they're planning something criminal, I said, then they're not family anymore. He smiled. Not a happy smile. The kind of smile that said he'd heard that line before and knew exactly how it ended. I'll be in touch, he said. I left the office feeling lighter than I had in days. Finally, I was doing something. Not reacting, not defending, acting. The next week moved slowly. I went to work every day. Ansel Holdings, main office, Northeast Portland. Smiled at employees, signed paperwork, attended meetings. Michael came to 2 of those meetings, professional, courteous, called me Dad in front of staff, asked thoughtful questions about quarterly projections. I smiled back, agreed with his suggestions, complimented his work. And the entire time I watched him, noticed the way he checked his phone constantly, the way he stepped out to take calls in private, the way he'd glance at me sometimes, like he was calculating something. He was still planning. Good. Let him plan. Ashley came by the house once that week, brought homemade cookies, or store-bought cookies she pretended were homemade. Hard to tell. I wanted to check on you, she said, sitting in the living room where Emily's photo had captured her meeting with Reynolds. You seemed stressed on the phone last week. I'm fine, I said. Just missing your mother. We all miss her. Ashley's expression was perfectly calibrated, concerned, caring, fake as a $3 bill. Have you thought about seeing someone? A therapist? Grief counseling can really help? There it was. The setup. Get me into therapy. Get me diagnosed with depression, anxiety, complicated grief. Build a paper trail that said Robert Ansel wasn't mentally sound. I'll think about it, I said. She smiled, reached over and squeezed my hand. We just want you to be okay, Dad. You know that, right? I know. She left 20 minutes later, satisfied she'd planted the seed. I threw the cookies away after she left. Victor called on day 9. We need to meet, he said. I found something. We met at a diner off Highway 26, neutral location, lots of ambient noise, hard to overhear conversations. Victor slid a folder across the table. Your son Michael has been very busy, he said. I opened it. Inside, photographs, digital surveillance photos, time-stamped and dated. Michael and Reynolds at a coffee shop. Michael and Liam at a restaurant. Ashley and Reynolds at what looked like Reynolds' office. 3 meetings in the last 10 days, Victor said. They're accelerating the timeline. Why? Best guess? They're worried you're getting suspicious. Michael's been making calls to medical offices, psychiatric clinics. He's trying to schedule an evaluation for you. Without my consent? He's claiming concern for your welfare, playing the worried son card. Most places won't do it without your cooperation, but he's fishing for someone who will. I stared at the photos. My son, plotting against me with the dedication of a military campaign. There's more, Victor said. He pulled out another set of documents. I accessed public filings. Reynolds Law Group has been retained by Michael personally, not by you or the company, which means whatever legal actions they take, they're doing it on his behalf, not yours. Can they do that? In an estate case? If they can prove you're incapacitated, yes. They'd petition the court for guardianship. If granted, they'd have legal authority to make decisions on your behalf. including signing over the company. Including signing over the company. I sat back, felt that cold clarity settling in again. They weren't just trying to take the company. They were trying to take everything, my autonomy, my dignity, my right to make my own decisions. What else? I asked. Victor hesitated. There's a draft document, not finalized, but I found it in Reynolds's case files. A proposed conservatorship agreement. If they get guardianship, they'd control your assets, your medical care, your living situation, everything. They'd put me in a home. Eventually, probably, once they had legal control. I looked at the photos again. Michael's face in one of them caught mid-laugh at something Reynolds said. He looked happy. Planning to lock away his own father, and he looked happy. What do you need from me? I asked Victor. Access, he said. I need to get into Michael's office, his computer. I need to see what communications exist beyond these meetings. The office has security. I know. That's why I need you to do it. I looked up. Me? You're still the owner. You have master key access to every location. If you go in after hours, no one questions it. You copy files, I analyze them. We find the smoking piece of evidence. And if I get caught, then we fall back on the fact that it's your company and you have every right to be there. It made sense, risky but logical. When? I asked. Tomorrow night, Saturday, minimal staff. I'll walk you through what to look for. I nodded. Okay. Victor finished his coffee. Mr. Ansel, I have to ask, if we find proof they're planning this, hard evidence, what are you going to do with it? I thought about Emily's photo, her scared expression, the way she documented everything because she knew I'd need proof. Whatever it takes, I said. Victor didn't ask for clarification. We both knew what that meant. Saturday night, 10 p.m. I parked in the back lot of Ansel Holdings' main office. My car, my parking space, nothing suspicious. Just the owner working late. Except I wasn't there to work. Victor had given me a thumb drive and a simple instruction. Copy everything from Michael's computer, documents folder, email archives if accessible, calendar, anything that might show communication with Reynolds or Ashley. Don't read it, Victor had said. Just copy it. I'll sort through the files. Easy in theory. I let myself in through the main entrance. Nodded at the weekend security guard. Dennis, good guy, worked here 6 years. Evening, Mr. Ansel. Evening, Dennis. Left some files in my office. Figured I'd grab them while I'm thinking about it. No problem. Building's all yours. I took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Michael's office was at the end of the hall. Corner office with windows overlooking the city. Emily had always joked that Michael chose the office based on the view, not the actual workspace. She'd been right. I used my master key. Locked the door behind me. The office was obsessively organized. Michael had inherited my need for control, but applied it differently. Everything had a place. Files color-coded. Desk clear, except for a monitor, keyboard, and a single photo frame. I looked at the photo. Michael, Ashley, and Emily at some company event. All 3 smiling. The photo was probably 5 years old, back when I thought we were a family. I sat at Michael's computer and pressed the power button. It woke from sleep mode, password protected. Victor had anticipated this. Try common passwords first. Birthday, wedding anniversary, kids' names. I tried Michael's birthday. No. His wife's birthday. No. His daughter Sophie's birthday. The screen unlocked. Of course he'd use his daughter's birthday. Sentimental enough to seem loving, predictable enough to be useless security. I plugged in the thumb drive and started copying files. Documents folder, 847 items. Copying. While it processed, I opened his email. Outlook. Synchronized account. Thousands of messages. I searched for Reynolds. 43 results. Searched for Ashley. 312 results. Searched for Trust Restructure. 7 results. I opened the most recent one. From Michael to Reynolds, dated 4 days ago. Dad's getting suspicious. He called asking about the hospital photos. I deflected, but we need to move faster. Can we schedule the evaluation this week? Reynolds' reply: difficult without his cooperation. We need a triggering incident, something that demonstrates clear impairment. Otherwise, we're looking at prolonged litigation. Michael's response: working on it. Working on it. My hands froze on the keyboard. They were planning to create a reason to declare me unfit. Stage something. Manufacture evidence. I kept reading. Another email, this one from Liam to Michael. Ashley thinks we should invite Dad to the charity gala next month. Public setting, lots of witnesses. If he has an episode, emotional breakdown, confusion, anything we can document, it strengthens our case. Michael's reply: smart. I'll extend the invitation. They were going to ambush me at a public event, try to make me look unstable. The file transfer completed. 847 items copied. I ejected the thumb drive, slipped it in my pocket, started to close the email when I saw one more message. Recent. From Reynolds to Michael, subject line: regarding your father's assets. I opened it. The email contained an attachment, a spreadsheet. I downloaded it, opened it. It was a complete breakdown of my personal and business assets: real estate, bank accounts, investment portfolios, the company valuation, everything. Total net worth, $47 million. Below the numbers, a note from Reynolds. Once conservatorship is established, you'll have full fiduciary control. Recommend establishing separate accounts for management fees. Standard practice is 2-3% annually. 2 to 3% of $47 million. They weren't just taking the company. They were planning to charge me to manage my own money. I stared at the screen. The cold clarity I'd been feeling for days crystallized into something sharper. They'd calculated this, down to the percentage points, treated me like an asset to be liquidated. I closed the email, cleared the recent documents list, shut down the computer exactly how I'd found it. Then I did something Victor hadn't told me to do. I walked to the filing cabinet in the corner. Michael kept hard copies of important documents, old school habit he'd picked up from me. Third drawer, locked. I had a master key for that too. Inside, manila folders. I flipped through them. Employment contracts, vendor agreements, lease documents, and one folder labeled Estate Transition, Confidential. I pulled it out. Inside, the trust restructure documents Harold had shown me. But these were different. These had handwritten notes in the margins, Michael's handwriting, next to my name: will likely resist, plan for extended timeline. Next to the conservatorship clause, check state requirements for medical testimony. On the final page, a note: once executed, transition Dad to advisory role immediately. Phase out within 6 months. Phase out. Like I was an outdated product, I took photos of every page with my phone, put the folder back exactly where I found it, locked the cabinet, left the office. Dennis was still at the front desk when I passed through the lobby. Get what you needed, Mr. Ansel. I did, Dennis. Thank you. Have a good night. You too, sir. I drove home in silence. Didn't turn on the radio. Didn't make phone calls. Just drove. Pulled into my driveway. Sat in the car, thought about the numbers. 47 million, 2 to 3% annually. They'd turned my life into a spreadsheet. I went inside, poured a scotch, sat in the study with Emily's photos and the thumb drive and my phone full of pictures. The evidence was there now. All of it. Emails, documents, financial projections. Enough to destroy them in court. But court would be public, messy. The business would suffer. Clients would lose confidence. Employees would worry about stability. No. If they wanted to do this quietly, I'd finish it quietly. Just not the way they expected. I called Victor. I have the files, I said when he answered. Any trouble? None. But there's more than you thought. Emails, financial projections, they've calculated everything. Send me what you've got. I'll analyze it tonight. Victor, I said, they're planning to set me up at a public event, create a scene that makes me look unstable. Silence on the other end. When? He asked. There's a charity gala next month. They're going to invite me. Try to trigger some kind of breakdown in front of witnesses. Then don't go. No, I said. I'm going. Mr. Ansel, I'm going, and I'm going to beat them at their own game. Victor was quiet for a moment. Then, what do you need from me? Everything we can find. Every communication, every document, every person involved. I want a complete picture before that gala. You're planning something. Yes. Something legal? Define legal. He laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. I'll have a full report in 72 hours. I hung up, looked at Emily's photo one more time. I'm not going down without a fight, I told her. And neither are they. The war had started, and I intended to win. Victor's report arrived via encrypted email on Tuesday afternoon. 78 pages, single-spaced, footnoted like a legal brief. I printed it at home, locked my office door, and read it cover to cover. By page 20, I wanted to throw up. By page 50, I wanted to throw something through a window. By page 78, I was calm again. The kind of calm that comes when you've moved past anger into calculation. The report was comprehensive. Victor had traced the timeline back 18 months, long before Emily got sick, long before the hospital photos. Michael had started planning this the day after my 57th birthday. Ashley joined the plan 6 months later. Liam had been involved from the start. The details were surgical. Michael had approached Reynolds' law group with a hypothetical scenario about a business owner who might be experiencing cognitive decline. Reynolds had drafted preliminary documents. Michael had attended 2 seminars on conservatorship law. Ashley had researched psychiatric evaluations and what qualified as legal incompetence. They'd created fake email accounts to communicate outside of company servers. Liam had run financial projections showing company valuation under different management scenarios. Spoiler: the scenarios where Michael ran everything were more profitable. Somehow, they'd even contacted competitors, feeling out whether anyone would be interested in acquiring Ansel Holdings if ownership became complicated. They'd planned for every scenario except one: me finding out. Victor's final page contained a list of people involved or aware of the plan. 1. Michael Ansel. 2. Ashley Ansel Cole. 3. Liam Cole. 4. Mr. Reynolds, attorney. 5. Patricia Morse, Reynolds paralegal. 6. Dr. Sandra Chen, psychiatrist Michael had consulted about evaluation criteria. 7. 2 board members who'd been informally approached about supporting a transition. 7 people. 7 people who knew my children were trying to steal my life. I sat in my study until the sun went down. Then I made a decision. The charity gala was 4 weeks away. Annual event for Portland Business Alliance. 500 guests, press coverage, major donors. Michael and Ashley had chosen it because it was public, prestigious, and full of witnesses. They wanted me to break in front of everyone. Fine, I'd give them a show. Just not the one they expected. I called Victor. I need you to do something for me, I said. What? Background on everyone at that gala, guest list, seating arrangements, who's connected to who. I want to know exactly who'll be in that room. That's a lot of people. I'll pay for the time. It's not about money. What are you planning? A presentation, I said. Of what? The truth. Victor was quiet. Mr. Ansel, if you're thinking about public exposure, you need to be careful. Defamation lawsuits, family court complications. This could get ugly fast. It's already ugly, I said. I'm just making it visible. He sighed. I'll get you the information. But Robert, and I'm calling you Robert now because we're past formalities, think about what happens after. You can't undo this kind of thing. Good, I said. I don't want to undo it. We hung up. I spent the next week working. Not on the business. The business ran itself at this point. Good managers, good systems. That's what 30 years of building gets you. No. I worked on the presentation, started with the photos, Emily's photos, scanned them at high resolution, organized them chronologically, living room meeting with Reynolds, hospital room signatures, the bathroom mirror shot with the trust documents visible, then the emails, screenshots, time-stamped, annotated, financial projections, the spreadsheet showing my net worth broken down like inventory, the notes in Michael's handwriting. Phase out within 6 months. Audio files came next. Victor had worked magic there, found recorded calls between Michael and Reynolds discussing strategy. Nothing illegal about recording calls in Oregon if one party consents, and Michael had consented to his own phone company's backup system without reading the fine print. I listened to those calls 3 times. Michael's voice, calm and professional. He'll fight at first, but once the court gets involved, he'll fold. He's too proud to let it become a public spectacle. Wrong on both counts. By week 3, I had everything organized. A 40-minute presentation. Professional, documented, devastating. I contracted a freelance AV tech, paid him double rate for discretion, had him set up a remote presentation system tied to my laptop, backup files in cloud storage, fail-safes in case someone tried to shut it down. Then I waited. The gala invitations arrived with 2 weeks to spare. Michael hand-delivered mine, showed up at the house on a Saturday morning with coffee and bagels. Thought you might want to come to the Business Alliance Gala, he said. It's at the Sentinel Hotel this year. Should be a great event. I took the invitation. Heavy cardstock, gold embossing. Black tie? I asked. Of course. You know how these things are. I looked at him. Really looked at him. My son, 34 years old, successful, handsome, charming, hollow. I'll be there, I said. His smile widened. Great. Ashley and I are at table 12 if you want to sit with us. I'll think about it. He left 20 minutes later, satisfied. I threw the bagels away, kept the invitation, 2 weeks. I used the time well, called key employees, casual conversations. How's the family? How's the new contract looking? Mentioned offhand that I'd be attending the gala. Maybe I'd make some remarks about the company's future. Let the rumor spread. Contacted 3 journalists I knew from previous years, business reporters, told them I'd have a major announcement at the gala. Wouldn't say what. Just that it was worth covering. They'd be there. Hired my own security. Professional. Discreet. Positioned at exits and near the stage. Not to protect me. To make sure nobody left early. Victor called the day before the gala. Last chance to back out, he said. I'm not backing out. You understand what you're about to do? This isn't just embarrassing them. You're ending your relationship with your children. They ended it 18 months ago, I said. I'm just making the paperwork official. Robert? Victor, I appreciate your concern, but this is happening. He sighed. Okay, I'll be there. Back of the room. If things go south, I'll have documentation ready. They won't go south. How do you know? Because I planned this better than they planned their takeover. I hung up. Spent that evening in the study. Emily's photo on the desk, the bathroom mirror shot, her scared expression. This is for you, I said quietly. You tried to warn me. I didn't listen fast enough, but I'm listening now. The photo didn't answer, but I swear the expression looked a little less scared. Tomorrow night the final invoice came due, and I intended to collect. The Sentinel Hotel ballroom looked like someone had weaponized elegance. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, centerpieces that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, 500 guests in tuxedos and evening gowns, holding champagne glasses and making small talk about market trends and vacation homes. I arrived alone, black tuxedo, bow tie Emily had tied for me years ago. I'd learned to tie it myself after she passed. cufflinks she'd given me on our 20th anniversary. Checked my appearance in the bathroom mirror before entering the ballroom. I looked calm. Good. Michael spotted me immediately, waved from across the room. Table 12, just like he'd said. Ashley sat next to him, Liam beside her. Reynolds was 3 tables over, watching. I waved back, didn't walk over. Instead, I made my way to the bar, ordered scotch, neat. The bartender poured. Big night? You have no idea. I found my assigned seat, table 8, near the stage, good sightlines. The organizers had placed me there deliberately. Prominent donors got prominent placement. Perfect. Dinner was served at 7, salmon or steak. I chose salmon, barely touched it. Around me, conversations flowed. Business owners talking about expansion plans. Philanthropists discussing which causes deserved funding this year. Everyone dressed up, everyone playing their part. Michael kept glancing at me. Subtle looks, checking if I was okay, probably waiting for me to show signs of stress. Maybe knock over a water glass, slur my words, give them something to work with. I smiled at him once. He looked confused. Good. At 8 p.m., the speeches started. President of the Business Alliance. Thankful remarks. Overview of the year's accomplishments. Introduction of major sponsors. Standard stuff. Then, and now, we have a special presentation from one of our founding members. Please welcome Robert Ansel, CEO and founder of Ansel Storage and Logistics. Applause. I stood, straightened my bow tie, walked to the stage. Michael's expression shifted from confused to concerned. Ashley leaned over, whispered something to him. Reynolds pulled out his phone, probably texting his paralegal. I reached the podium, adjusted the microphone, looked out at 500 faces. Good evening, I said. Thank you for having me. More applause. I waited for it to settle. I'm going to do something unusual tonight, I continued. I'm going to tell you the truth. Not the polished version we usually present at these events. The actual truth. Some of you will find it uncomfortable. Some of you will wish I'd stayed quiet. But I've learned recently that silence is how betrayal grows. The room got quieter. Michael started to stand. Ashley grabbed his arm, pulled him back down. 6 months ago, my wife Emily passed away. Pneumonia, complications. She was 56, too young, too sudden. I paused. Let that sink in. In the aftermath, I found something. Photos she'd taken. The last roll of film from her camera. Most of them were normal. Family photos, the kind you'd expect. Behind me, the screen came alive. The AV tech had done his job perfectly. Emily's garden photo appeared. Azaleas in bloom. Beautiful. But some of the photos were different. Next slide. The living room. Michael, Ashley, and Reynolds with the business cards visible. Murmurs in the crowd. That's my son, Michael, my daughter, Ashley, and their attorney, Mr. Reynolds, meeting in my home while I was at work. Next slide. The hospital room. Emily in bed. The 3 of them discussing documents. The murmurs got louder. That was taken during week 2 of my wife's hospitalization, while she was sedated, while I was trying to figure out how to save her life. Michael stood. Dad, this isn't... Sit down, Michael. My voice came out harder than I intended. The microphone amplified it. He sat. Next slide. Close-up of the blurry document. Power of at visible. They were preparing power of attorney documents, without my knowledge, without my consent. I clicked to the next slide. Email from Michael to Reynolds. Dad's getting suspicious. Someone in the audience gasped. This is an email from my son to his lawyer, discussing how to accelerate their plan to declare me mentally incompetent so they could take control of my company. Click. Next email. We need a triggering incident. Click. Financial spreadsheet. My net worth broken down. Click. The note. 2-3% management fee annually. They calculated how much money they could extract from me once they had control. 2 to 3% per year, of my assets. The ballroom was silent now. 500 people staring. I looked at Michael. His face had gone pale. Ashley was crying, or pretending to cry. Hard to tell. Reynolds was standing, moving toward the exit. My security blocked him. "I'm not finished," I said. Click. The bathroom mirror photo. Emily staring at the camera, the trust documents visible behind her. This was the last photo my wife took, 3 days before she passed. She knew what they were planning. She tried to leave me evidence, and I was too grief-stricken to see it until recently. My voice cracked. Not intentionally. The emotion just came. They waited for her to be sedated. They planned while she was helpless, and they thought I'd be too old, too emotional, too broken to fight back. I looked directly at Michael. You were wrong. Click. The final slide. A legal document. This is a revocation of succession, filed yesterday with the state. Michael Ansel is no longer employed by Ansel Holdings. Ashley Ansel Cole is removed from any advisory capacity. Their access to company finances, property, and resources is terminated immediately. Michael stood again. You can't. I already did. It's legal, it's binding, and it's permanent. He started moving toward the stage, fast, angry. Ashley grabbed him. Michael, don't. He shook her off, kept coming. Security moved. My guys, not hotel staff. They intercepted him at the base of the stage. Let me go, Michael shouted. He's lying, I'm not lying, I said calmly into the microphone. Every document is real, every email is authentic, every photo was taken by your mother. He tried to push past security. One of my guys, former Army, 6'3", 240 pounds, put a hand on Michael's chest. Michael swung, clumsy, uncoordinated. The swing of someone who'd never actually been in a fight. My security guy didn't even flinch, just caught Michael's wrist, held it. Michael struggled. Get off me! This is Dad! Tell them to let me go! I stepped down from the podium, walked slowly toward him. The ballroom watched in silence. Phones were out now, recording. This would be online within minutes. Good. I stopped 3 feet from Michael, looked at him, really looked at him. You planned to lock me away, I said quietly. You calculated how much money you could steal while calling it management fees. You used your mother's hospitalization as cover, and you thought I wouldn't notice. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to steal. There's a difference. Dad, please! I cut him off, not with words. I punched him. Clean, direct, right to the jaw. I hadn't thrown a punch in 30 years, but apparently it's like riding a bike. Michael's head snapped back. He staggered. Security let him go. He collapsed. Not unconscious, just stunned. Sat on the floor of the Sentinel Hotel ballroom in his tuxedo, hand on his jaw, staring up at me. Payment received, I said. Debt closed. Then I looked at Ashley. She was still at table 12. Crying. Real tears this time. We didn't mean... Yes, you did. You meant every bit of it. I looked at Reynolds. You're fired. If you contact me or anyone associated with my company, I'll have you disbarred. I have evidence of you coaching clients to commit elder abuse. Don't test me. He opened his mouth, closed it, left. I walked back to the podium, picked up the microphone one last time. To everyone here tonight, clients, partners, competitors, Ansel Storage and Logistics remains under my sole control. If anyone contacts you claiming otherwise, they're lying. If you have questions, call my office Monday morning. I set the microphone down, walked toward the exit. 500 people watched in silence. Someone started clapping, then someone else, then the entire room. Not everyone. Some people looked uncomfortable, some looked horrified, but most were clapping. For what? The speech? The punch? The spectacle? Didn't matter. I left. Victor met me in the lobby. He stopped. Started again. That was the most efficient reputation demolition I've ever witnessed. Did the recordings work? Perfectly. Everything's backed up. If they try to claim defamation, we have documentation. Good. We walked outside. Cool Portland night. October air. What now? Victor asked. Now I go home. Sleep for the first time in 6 weeks. Wake up tomorrow and run my company. And your kids? I looked back at the hotel. Could see Michael through the window, still on the floor. Ashley trying to help him up. He pushed her away. They're not my kids anymore, I said. They stopped being my kids 18 months ago. I just made it official. Victor nodded. For what it's worth? Your wife would be proud. I thought about Emily's photo, the scared expression. I hope so, I said. I drove home alone, parked in my driveway, sat in the car for a moment. Then I went inside. The house was quiet, too big, still empty without Emily, but different now. Before it felt like a tomb, a place where I was waiting to join her. Now it just felt like home. I poured myself a scotch, sat in the study. Emily's photo on the desk. I did it, I told her. I fought back, just like you wanted. The photo didn't answer, but I swear she looked less scared. I finished the scotch, went to bed, slept like I hadn't slept in months. Monday morning arrived with headlines. Business owner exposes children's plot at charity gala. Portland entrepreneur punches son after revealing takeover scheme. Family betrayal caught on camera, the Ansel Holdings scandal. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. I let it go to voicemail. By 8 a.m. I had 43 messages, reporters, colleagues, competitors pretending to be concerned. I deleted them all. At 9 a.m., I drove to the office. Ansel Holdings, Northeast Portland, 3-story building with our logo on the front. Same place I'd been coming for 20 years. The parking lot was full. Monday morning, everyone at their desks. I walked through the front entrance. Employees looked up, stared. Nobody said anything. I walked to the elevator, pressed the button for the 3rd floor. Dennis, the weekend security guard, was working day shift. He held the elevator door. Mr. Ansel. Dennis. I saw the news. I'm sure you did. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. I looked at him. He meant it. Thank you, Dennis. The elevator doors closed. 3rd floor. My office at the end of the hall. Corner office. Same view Michael had wanted. I unlocked the door, went inside. My desk was clean, computer on. Files organized exactly how I'd left them Friday afternoon. I sat down, turned on the computer, opened email. 632 new messages. I started sorting through them. Half were junk, reporters, bloggers, people offering book deals or interview requests. Deleted. Quarter were clients, concerned messages, asking if the company was stable, if contracts would be honored, if operations would continue normally. I drafted a response. Professional, calm, assured them nothing had changed operationally. Ansel Holdings remained under my direct control. All agreements remained valid. Sent it to every client individually. The final quarter were internal. Employees. I read those carefully. Most were supportive. Some were uncomfortable. A few asked if they should be worried about their jobs. I sent a company-wide memo. Team, you may have seen news coverage of recent family matters. I want to assure you, Ansel Holdings remains stable, profitable, and under my leadership. No operational changes are planned. Your jobs are secure. If you have questions, my door is open. Thank you for your continued dedication. Robert, sent. By noon, things had settled. Phones stopped ringing quite so often. Emails slowed to a manageable pace. I worked through the afternoon. Normal tasks, contract reviews, budget approvals, a conference call with our Sacramento location about a new client. At 4 p.m., someone knocked on my door. Come in. Harold Burns entered, my accountant, looking nervous. Robert, I saw the news. Everyone saw the news, Harold. I saw what you did, and I wanted to say... He paused. Thank you. I looked up. For what? For not making me testify. I was prepared to. If you'd gone the legal route, I was ready to provide documentation, but you handled it differently. I handled it permanently. He nodded. The financial changes you filed, removing Michael and Ashley from succession, that's binding? Completely. And the company structure? Unchanged. I'm sole owner. When I'm gone, the company goes to a trust that benefits employees and charity, not family. Harold smiled. Emily would approve. I hope so. He left. I kept working. At 6 p.m. my phone rang. Private number. I answered. Robert Ansel. Silence. Then, Dad? Michael. I should have hung up. Blocked the number. Moved on. But I answered anyway. What do you want, Michael? I want to explain. There's nothing to explain. I saw the emails, the documents, the financial projections. It was all very clear. You don't understand. We were trying to help. You weren't yourself after Mom passed. We thought... You thought wrong. Dad, please, can we meet? Talk about this properly? No. You can't just cut us out. We're your children. You stopped being my children when you tried to steal my life. We weren't stealing. We were planning for the future. His voice rose, desperate now. Your future, I said. Not mine. You calculated how much money you could extract. You discussed phasing me out. You tried to find doctors who'd declare me incompetent. That's not planning. That's conspiracy. I made mistakes. I know I made mistakes. But you can't. I already did. It's done. The paperwork is filed. You have no claim to the company, no access to my assets, no authority over my medical decisions, nothing. Silence. Then, you'll regret this. I doubt it. Ashley's devastated. She won't eat, won't leave her house. Liam left her. Good. She deserves someone who won't help her plot against family. And me? What do I deserve? I thought about that. Really thought about it. You deserve exactly what you got, I said. Public humiliation, professional destruction, the knowledge that your own father had to physically remove you from a stage because you couldn't accept responsibility for your actions. I'm your son. No, you were my son, past tense. You ended that relationship when you signed trust documents behind my back. I hung up, blocked the number, sat at my desk, felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, no second thoughts, just peace. The cold clarity I'd been feeling for weeks had settled into something permanent. I'd won, not just the battle, the entire war. My company was secure, my assets protected, my legacy defined by me, not by children who saw me as an obstacle. At 7 p.m., I left the office, drove home, ate dinner, leftovers from the weekend, watched an hour of television, then went to the study. Emily's photo on the desk, the bathroom mirror shot, her scared expression. I picked it up. It's finished, I said quietly. They can't hurt us anymore. The photo didn't answer, but I swear the expression looked peaceful. I set it down, turned off the light, went to bed, slept perfectly. The week passed in a blur of normalcy. Tuesday, client meetings, contract negotiations, lunch with the regional manager from Seattle. Wednesday, budget review, staff meeting, approval of new warehouse lease in Eugene. Thursday, conference call with investors. They asked about the incident. I assured them the company was stable. They seemed satisfied. Friday, normal day, paperwork, emails. One reporter managed to get my direct line. I told her politely that I had no further comment. She asked if I felt bad about what I'd done. I said no and hung up. By the following Monday, the news cycle had moved on. Some tech startup acquired by a bigger company, political scandal in Salem, hurricane somewhere on the East Coast. The Ansel family drama became old news, exactly as I'd planned. I spent the next month tightening operations, hired a new VP of operations to replace Michael, promoted from within, a woman named Jennifer Ortiz who'd been with the company 8 years. Smart, dedicated, no interest in stealing my job. Revised the company succession plan, filed new documents. When I passed, the business would transfer to an employee trust. Everyone who'd worked there 5 years or more would get shares. Profits would fund education programs and small business development. No family involved, none needed. Ashley tried calling once, left a voicemail, crying, apologizing, asking for another chance. I deleted it without listening to the whole message. Michael sent an email. Subject line, "Please read." I deleted it without opening. Liam reached out through LinkedIn. Message request asking if we could discuss the situation like adults. I blocked him. Reynolds Law Group sent a formal letter threatening defamation litigation. My lawyer, a woman named Catherine Brennan who specialized in civil defense, responded with a 50-page documentation package showing every email, every recording, every piece of evidence I'd presented at the gala. Reynolds dropped the threat within 48 hours. I heard through business contacts that Michael had moved to California. Took a job with a logistics company in San Diego. Middle management position. Nothing prestigious. Ashley was working at a nonprofit. Development coordinator. Decent salary. Nothing spectacular. Liam had filed for separation. Divorce proceedings underway. The family I'd built for 34 years had scattered like leaves in a storm. And I felt nothing. No regret, no sadness, no desire to reconcile. They'd made their choice. I'd made mine. Victor called once a month to check in. Professional courtesy, making sure I didn't need follow-up investigations. "You sleeping okay?" he asked during one call. Better than I have in years. "No second thoughts?" "None." "Good. Most people in your situation would be drowning in guilt by now, trying to rationalize reconciliation. Glad you're not." "Why would I reconcile? They tried to steal my life. I stopped them. That's not complicated." "It's not. But family makes things complicated. They're not family anymore." He was quiet for a moment. "Fair enough." We hung up. December arrived. Holiday season. Ansel Holdings threw a company party. Employees, clients, key partners. Nothing fancy. Hotel conference room, catered food, open bar. I attended. Gave a short speech thanking everyone for their hard work. People clapped. Genuine applause, not the uncertain kind from the gala. Afterward, Jennifer Ortiz approached me. "Mr. Ansel, I wanted to say thank you for the promotion and for trusting me. You earned it. I also wanted to say what you did. At the gala, that took courage." I looked at her. "You think so?" "I do. Most people would have suffered in silence. Let family take advantage. You fought back. That matters." "Thank you, Jennifer." She went back to the party. I stayed another hour, made small talk, shook hands, played the role of successful business owner. Then I went home. The house was still too big, still too quiet, but it didn't feel like a tomb anymore. I'd reclaimed it, made it mine again. I spent Christmas alone, ordered takeout, watched old movies, Emily's favorites, the ones we used to watch together. Halfway through It's a Wonderful Life, I paused the screen, looked at the empty couch beside me. "I miss you," I said to the silence, but I kept my promise. I didn't let them win. The silence didn't answer, but it felt comfortable now, not oppressive. I finished the movie, went to bed. New Year's Eve arrived. I spent it at the office, alone, reviewing the year's financial reports. Ansel Holdings had grown 8%, revenue up, profit margins stable, client retention at 93%. The business was thriving. At midnight, I heard fireworks outside, Portland celebrating, new beginnings. I poured a scotch, raised it to the empty office. "To survival," I said. Drank, set the glass down, looked at the photo I kept on my desk now. Not the bathroom mirror shot, a different one. Emily in the garden, smiling, hands dirty from planting azaleas. Happy, the way I remembered her before everything went wrong. "I won," I told her photo. "I fought back and I won. and I'm not sorry. The photo didn't answer, but I swear she looked proud. January brought new challenges, new contracts, new clients, new problems to solve. Normal problems, business problems, the kind I'd been solving for 30 years. No betrayal, no conspiracy, no children plotting behind my back, just work, and work felt good. I settled into a routine: office by 8, leave by 6, dinner at home, television, reading, sleep. Weekends I spent at the house, garden maintenance. Emily's azaleas had survived the winter. I pruned them carefully. Occasionally I'd think about Michael and Ashley, wonder what they were doing, if they regretted their choices. Then I'd remember the emails, the financial projections, the phrase, phase out within 6 months, and the wondering would stop. By March, I realized something. I was happy, not deliriously happy, not the kind of happiness that comes from winning the lottery or falling in love, just content. My business was stable. My life was my own. Nobody was plotting against me. Nobody was calculating how to extract my net worth. I'd won, completely, permanently. And the best part? I didn't feel guilty about it.